Surgery? Oh wait, I thought I just couldn't breathe well and I needed a better medicine. I don't know if I'm ready for a surgery.
When your food is right, medicine is of no need. And when your food is wrong, medicine is of no use. I realized that it's not just me. Everyone who's living this lifestyle, they're able to heal their diabetes, their high blood pressure, their chronic health problems. And
I think the medicines, when they got more expensive, the belief would increase. This will definitely work. And
So in the Satvic movement, talk to me about gratitude in food.
eating a food, eating any meal is like doing a havan.
I think, however unscientific this may sound, if after a meal I find myself getting very thirsty, then I know that what I ate was not cooked the right way, or too spicy, or too salty. And if I feel like there's no need to consume water, then it's नींद को हम हमेशा सिर्फ घंटों में गिनते हैं कि कितने घंटे आपने सोया. लेकिन उसका एक और डायमेंशन है जो हमें कभी सिखाया ही नहीं है. वो है
If you don't live right, no medicine can truly heal you. But when you live right, you may never need medicine at all. This is the essence of the Satvic movement, a simple, natural way of living that heals you from within. Harshavardhan and Subha, who once struggled severely with their own health, discovered this truth after countless treatments and medications, that the key to healthy life does not lie in pills, but in the food we eat and the way we choose to live. They began to see food not just as nourishment but as medicine, choosing to return to nature, simplifying their lives and finding inner alignment. What started as a personal journey to health has now grown into a movement that's causing a lifestyle revolution. The Satvic movement teaches us how the right food and the lifestyle choices can cure diseases, reduce the need for medication, and actually help us live longer, healthier lives. Join us on this journey to true health, mindful living, and long-lasting happiness that can transform your life. Harshavardhan, so great to see you today. Subha, thank you for coming in here. I've seen you from the morning, and both of you have this perpetual smile. Is it something in the food that you eat? Or is it the both of you together and your vibrational energy?
I don't know about our smile from earlier, but today I feel, at least for me, I'm smiling looking at you. It's really nice to see how dynamic you are, how energetic you are, how curious you are, how you come with so much experience yet with so much humility. And that's something exciting and makes me smile today.
Awesome.
I'm incredibly grateful that you've given us a chance to come here, speak on your platform. And I think just seeing you, you're so youthful, so experienced yet so youthful, it really inspires us.
You know, when I met you all earlier today, I was like, I said, no, I love the gifts that you gave me, which were the books that you guys have written. And I want to be putting up these books over here in the description below. And the reason I need people to read books is because you created something really wonderful for the human body. And food is a way to the soul. And tell me, when you started this, what was the starting point? Because everyone has a fire that is lit, or a message from God, or meeting each other on a bus seat somewhere. What was your story? How did it start?
So we didn't know each other at the time, and we both have slightly different stories, but then we connected.
It's always the case, right? I always said that my wife met me at IIM Ahmedabad, and she's like, no, I never looked at you in class in IIM Ahmedabad and stuff like that. But tell me.
So Sabah's story started first, and then I'll tag
So
out.
ladies first.
So, my story started when I was about 13 years of age. And since I was a very young girl, I was diagnosed with multiple health problems. So, I was first diagnosed with PCOD and thyroid. And I was in school when I was put on allopathic pills for these problems.
In school?
In school.
That means you were really young.
Very young. I was 13 when I got diagnosed. And how you go to class every day and you have breakfast before you go to class, I would literally pop pills before I would go to class. And every time I would go back to the medical world, I'd go back to the doctors, I'd get one more pill added to my prescription, and one more and one more. And it reached a point where I was taking literally 6 to 7 different pills every day. And one was for the PCOD, one was for the thyroid, one was for the hair fall that accompanied these two health problems, one was for the acne, one was for general getting my periods on time. So I think my whole childhood I just spent being overweight. I spent seeing my hair completely fall out. I spent seeing everyone around me, even in my family, completely normalize sickness, normalize chronic
You were
disease.
very traumatized by all of that.
100%. I think one of the biggest, I'd say, impressions that I received in my childhood was being bullied as a child for my weight, because I was always living in excess weight and I didn't know anything about how do I get rid of this excess weight. In school, I'd get kicked by my, people in the van who would go to school with me, or my even the teachers at school would not be so accepting of me simply because I looked different or simply because I had excess weight. So I think just living with disease my whole childhood, feeling like I'm not enough, feeling like I'm much lesser than all the other classmates I have, was extremely, I'd say, traumatic. And when I was 18 years, 17 years of age actually, that's when the turning point in my life came.
What was that turning point? You saw a book, you read an article.
I met a teacher actually,
Okay.
and his name was Acharya Mohan Gupta ji.
Okay.
And my father was one of my strongest pillars, still is, and he's the one who introduced me to this teacher. And we went for a 4-day camp, which was being hosted in a small little village between Bombay and Pune. And at this camp, for the first time, I learned that when your food is right, medicine is of no need. And when your food is wrong, medicine is of no use. So I was exposed to this knowledge for the first time, and being a teenager who would start their day with Maggie and would start their day with a huge mug of coffee and would have processed food every day of their lives, and coming to that camp and starting to eat fruits, eat natural food, to fast, to completely cleanse the body, to start waking up early, to incorporate yoga, it was like a complete 360-degree shift in those 4 days. And at first, I didn't accept it. I just wanted to run away from that place.
So there was a ziddi inside of you that this is not right.
Yes, I was even angry at my father that how could you bring me here? And everyone at that camp was like literally twice or thrice my age. I was like the only young person. So I just felt complete misfit there, and I felt ये कोई बूढ़े लोगों की चीज़ है, ये अब मुझे नहीं करना है, सब नहीं होगा मुझसे. But I think by the third or the fourth day, I saw one change, which was I started losing weight. I stepped on the weighing machine, and weight that I wasn't able to lose after years of gymming, after years of.
So you were going to the gym, you were doing
Yes.
dieting and skipping meals and doing
I
all
was
of that.
trying to, because I didn't want to be the odd one out at my school. So I would try to go to the gym and try to lose that weight, but nothing would work because ultimately I wasn't eating right. Ultimately, I wasn't learning the truth about our food. So
that stepping on the weighing scale, there was an aha moment with there's something in my food that's making me feel better,
yeah,
way lighter. Did you feel anything else?
I think weight loss was honestly the first thing I experienced. But after I started incorporating the practices that I had learned from my teacher, after 3 to 4 months, my TSH levels came completely normal, which
No.
were always skyrocketing,
No, just with diet.
just with changing your food and your lifestyle. So, not just diet, but also how you start your morning and a few other practices that he had taught.
Was there breath work and yoga and that?
100%, yeah.
Right?
There was
So
pranayama.
I think teenagers listening in, you will get bullied. Teachers will not understand.
Yeah,
And you literally feel you're alone in that world
yeah.
and nobody to help you. But I think turning solace to food and eating the wrong food is a recipe for disaster for a female's hormones, female's
Yeah.
psychology, female's outlook to society. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. So from food, then you started all of this and you reached the Satvic movement when?
So, when I incorporated these practices in my life, as I told you, My thyroid completely got reversed. My PCOD, I wouldn't get my cycles for six months on end. After living this way, every single month on the same date, my cycles started coming. My hair started growing back. Whatever hair I had lost came back. My weight came back to normal. And I felt this energy in my body which...
Were you scared that that would disappear?
Not at all. I felt when I gained the knowledge from my teacher, that knowledge was so empowering. I felt like someone for the first time had given me the truth. It felt like what my school hadn't given me in so many years, my teacher had taught me in just a couple of days. So I think that knowledge brought so much conviction, so much strength. There was no doubt that if I live this way, I won't continue to live healthy and strong till my last breath. So, yeah, when I got all these benefits, I think there was just this desire that how can I not share this with others now? How can I just keep this knowledge to myself?
Was 17, 18?
This was 17 years old. And I think my father was my biggest guide who would always question societal norms. He would question that why are you going to school without, school teaching you the base values that our Gurukul system would teach us. So he was like this rebel and he was able to awaken that rebel inside of me. And he gave me the gift of, I think the biggest gift was belief that you can choose another way. And that's when we decided together that I want to now dedicate this lifetime I have upon this planet to share with others whatever I have received and just do it as a service, as a way of giving back, and as a way of just saying thank you to God, as a way of a duty, not work, not profession, not career, but as a duty. So I think that's when it started, and I realized that it's not just me. Everyone who's living this lifestyle is able to heal their health problems without medicine. They're able to heal their diabetes, their high blood pressure, their chronic health problems. And I think one of the biggest shifts that I also witnessed was I stopped needing medicine completely after that. And today it's been around 8 years I've been practicing this way of life. Never needed to go to a hospital, never needed to visit a doctor's clinic, never needed a pill. Not because we avoid it, because the body knows that nature is the best healer. So it's, understood that the real healer lies within. So through this journey, as I kept creating the videos, sharing the videos with people, Satvic Movement started as simply a YouTube channel. And so many people started gaining benefit that we wanted to share this knowledge, even we wanted to create even more impact. And we thought, how can we do it? So we started doing physical workshops. And we were doing these physical workshops in Mumbai and in Delhi. And in one of those workshops, one of the workshops I was hosting was at a center in Mumbai, which Harsh was running at that time. And that's how the two of us met.
She doesn't want to divulge more details after that. So Harsh, what's your story?
So it's again, similarities are there. I was also young, had chronic sinusitis, psoriasis as a young child, and no idea that food has any correlation with our health. We were just taught you got to go to the better doctor. If that doctor's pills didn't work, that means
Find another doctor.
And I was from Calcutta and we looked up to Bombay as the big city. So that's where we would go, me and my mum, looking for that right doctor who would give us that right medicine. And I think the medicines, when they got more expensive, the belief would increase. This will definitely work. And they would make you do different tests to diagnose the issue. And it would come down to those same sort of set of either it's an antibiotic with a steroid, with an inhaler, because I had asthma as well. And that cycle continued to the point I reached London. And this was like private doctor, expensive clinic. By now, I'm like, this has to be it. I mean, if this guy, and the doctor, I still remember, he was a specialist in allergic rhinitis. That means he specialized only for the particular health problem that I had. Allergy also only of the nose. I was like, this has to be it.
I laughed because I also had allergic rhinitis.
Okay.
And I solved it by giving up wheat.
Okay, interesting. So he told me you need these steroids, and these were the most strong steroids. He said if you take it for 2 weeks, if it doesn't work, we need to go in for surgery. That took me a little bit with the surprise. I was like, surgery? Oh, wait. I thought I just couldn't breathe well and I needed a better medicine. I took those steroids because I thought this is my best hope. And while I took it, it was fine. I was able to breathe at night. The day I didn't take it, the problem resurfaced. I was like, went back to him. He's like, I think we need to go in for surgery. You can come day after. As though it's just another day in the walk in the park. aa jaiye, kal parso aa jaiye. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for a surgery. Something clicked. Something within me said, no, there's a better way. I didn't know what it was. Came back to India. I think I stumbled upon this knowledge that food can be connected. There is some correlation. So the first thing that I was commonly told is that milk or dairy products are inflammatory in nature, and the fact that you can't breathe well could be connected, and your skin conditions could be connected. And we had our own farm in Calcutta where we had our own cows. So you can imagine Marwari house, meaning there's everything we had was with dairy.
Ghee and dairy
And
butter.
since the morning till dinner, that's all we ate. And we felt, hey, this is our home thing and our tradition we have. So the moment I stopped that, for me, I could breathe well at night. And that feeling for a child when they can sleep peacefully while they breathe clearly was just this feeling of, I've not felt this before. And I didn't have to take any spray for this. That gave me the conviction that there is more to it.
You?
I think it was around 18 to 20.
Your grandmother didn't taunt you
About?
about giving up milk and everything?
I think that maybe that little time was, you're doing it on the side. No one really knows that what's...
You were like quiet and you're doing this discovery journey yourself.
Yeah, and I was not really... I thought it might not work, It was more of a karke dekhte hain, chalo. It was not a convinced decision that this will work. That realization came when I was able to breathe. And I was like, so this is it? All these years of going to doctors, not a single one of them told me this? Like, I felt angry. And I felt all these degrees, and even if they hinted at this, I would have said, okay, let me try. So I think it started there, and then I realized it's not just dairy products, and there are many other things I was consuming which wasn't working for me, for my skin. And I was able to reverse them completely. At a similar time in life, I was able to see a family member who was going through an advanced stage of cancer. And all the doctors had given suggestions, and the side effects increased to the point where the patient said, I would rather not be. And now the family is really confused because the best doctors are saying this is the only way, you have to take the medicines. At that time, I saw that we resorted to natural treatment for that person, and they were able to reduce their levels of the cancer markers simply by changing their food. And everyone was amazed, like, ye kaise ho gaya? The doctor said, not possible. In my mind, I was connecting the dots. I was like, so it's not only my cold, it's not only my skin. Even serious issues like cancer can be healed simply by changing what we put on our plate. And I saw it for my eyes. And I said, why aren't more people talking about this? Each time we would go to a natural doctor, they would be in small kutia, somewhere in a small corner. You would go there with doubt. Ki, will it work? Like, there's a sense of hesitation. And you go to an Apollo or a Max or a nice hospital, it's so lavish, you take them very seriously. So that got me thinking, why can't there be a natural setup which is taken seriously? And that got me started with Vedari, which Subha was saying, which is a health center which we started in Bombay in 2017, where we were giving natural treatments with Ayurvedic doctors, naturopathic doctors, Chinese medicine doctors. The principle was clear. You will only use food and lifestyle and maybe herbs, but no medicines for dependency, and use that to treat big diseases.
It's amazing. And so you all met each other in a workshop.
That space had a workshop space. And Subha came into my lab, she's like, I need a workshop space. I said, great, we have it. And it seems like we're on the same...
she was conducting her own
She
workshop.
was conducting the workshop there.
Ah.
And then she said something to me during one of those workshops. She's like, Harsh, the first time I went to my teacher's, her master's camp, there was barely anyone there. And when we go to the hospitals, there's queues and queues. It doesn't seem to add up. Like, he's giving the cure. There's barely any people going there. Here, people are lining up for hospitals for a treatment that's not actually improving their health. Why aren't there more people going for these camps? I think that's when I got thinking that our vision is the same. We want to spread this knowledge. We've already received so much, now it's our turn to give back. That somewhere within we thought we're meant to do this together.
Awesome. I'm really enjoying this conversation with Subha and Harsha. It brings back memories of my own journey and the foundation of Qua Nutrition. From a young age, I was always fascinated with the science of food. I saw it not just as sustenance, but as a key to health, energy, and longevity. This passion led me to pursue a master's degree in food biotechnology as well as another one in clinical biochemistry. However, this knowledge wasn't just academic, it was deeply personal. Growing up, I watched my grandmother cook with love and wisdom. Her simple yet powerful dishes filled with natural ingredients healed and nourished. Her approach, fresh, seasonal, balanced, became the cornerstone of my observed philosophy. Early in my career, I realized that many health issues could be addressed through proper nutrition before resorting to supplements or medications. This belief intensified when I became a parent. The responsibility of nourishing my own child heightened my awareness of our dietary choices and reinforced the importance of food as the foundation of lifelong health. This realization led to the creation of the Qua Nutrition Clinics. Whether you're an athlete, a mother, a corporate professional, or facing health challenges, your nutrition should be tailored to your specific needs and lifestyle. What began as a small clinic with a dedicated team has grown into an internationally recognized brand with over 200 expert dietitians. At Qua Nutrition Clinics, we believe that food is the most powerful tool for achieving optimal health. If you're ready to take control of your health and make food work for you, tap the link in our bio. My team will be here to guide you every step of the way.
I think great stories, great meetings, great couples come together, and I run the Qua Nutrition Clinics, and our ethos is the same. Qua in Latin means incapacity of. So mine is designed based on each to the scientific capacity of your body. I think where our two worlds merge is that we all eat out of love and culture, but there's no element of science. In your case, the science is the ancient wisdom. In my case, the science is, boss, just discover what works or does not work for you. So a simple logic for me is, if you came to me at 13 years of age, I would do your food intolerance test and your genetic test called nutrigenomics, and I would have already discovered that you're allergic to XYZ and taken it out of your diet. Why I asked you, did your grandmother taunt you? Is because we tend to have society not understand that food is a massive healer and food in its same breath is also poison.
Right.
So really amazing. But all of us have this journey, right? We do these workshops, we do these books, we have our practices, and we talk to people. What was your moment, Subha, and what was your moment, Harshavardhan, where there was that one case which flipped you and said, I've got to be doing this for the rest of my life, and the good Lord has to give me enough of strength to try and multiply this to millions. So what was your I know your personal story was one, then the cancer story one, but not in the family. Was there a moment with a client?
So at the center, at the Vedari center, in the very beginning, in the first couple of weeks, I do remember there was a person who came and she was trying to conceive and it wasn't working for her, and she kept coming, and then over time she got back to me saying, Harsh, I'm finally pregnant. And this was back in 2017, and she was one of the first few people who walked in there. I think that got me thinking that, wow, this is someone.
There's some impact.
Yeah, and this was just through consults. It wasn't that we didn't do any treatments, nothing. So I'm talking 2017. This was the earlier signs of we need to keep at this. But I think our personal journeys, Ryan, was so full of learning that I don't think there was any doubt that we needed from a third person to say this works. Yes, of course it helps. Of course we need that constant reminder and encouragement. But I think that inner conversation with the higher power was already sort of inbuilt to say, we have to break through this and take it forward.
Just to add to that, I remember once I was hosting a workshop at Vedri, and we write about this in the book also. Imagine like there's a hall filled with about 100 people, and we're about to start the workshop. And what I like to do before the workshop starts is I just want to be very comfortable with the audience. So I would ask them that, listen, why have you come here? What is your intention? What do you want to gain from this workshop? And everyone's sharing, we want to get better, we want to reverse our blood pressure, we want to do this. And I remember, I think it was the third row from the front.
I
There
was also
a
sitting at the
girl
back. I remember
who,
this as well, yeah.
There was a girl sitting. She was wearing a pink top. And she said that, I don't remember her exact words, but she said something like, I've not come here to learn anything. I've just come to teach you. I've just come to tell you something. I was like a little, okay, maybe like, every workshop has some mischievous people. Maybe she's one of them. And I was like trying to say that, okay, we can talk later about this. Like maybe in the break, you can come and share what issue happened and what you want to teach me. And then she's like, no, I'll say it right now. And she was so fierce. And she was like, you know, 3 months ago, I couldn't walk. I had rheumatoid arthritis. Even if I had to lift my hand up from here to here, I had to call my father from the other room to hand me a glass of water. If I had to go brush my teeth in the bathroom, I had to call my father to help me just lift the toothbrush up and brush my teeth. Today I came here after doing 30 Surya Namaskars in the morning.
Wow.
And I think I was
I'm
just...
getting goosebumps you telling me this.
Yeah, I think like I was just in that moment, like I wanted to just, shed a tear, but I just stopped myself because there's 100 people seeing, and I was like, oh my God, this is the power of food. This is the power of what you put on your plate and how you live your life. And these are the stories Jaya and I saw happening like every time I would meet the community. I remember a couple of months ago when we were doing the book tour, there was like, we had gone to one Satvic practitioner's home, and there's like a huge crowd. There's people, they're wanting to eat, they're wanting to, just gather. Suddenly, a woman, curly hair, wearing a white kurta, comes and she's trying to say something in my ear. And I'm trying to, like, just understand there's so much shore, there's like chaos. She's like, I didn't commit suicide only because of the Satvic videos.
Wow.
And I was like, you're like
Another
in a...
goosebump moment, man.
And before you process it, someone else is coming and saying something else. And then suddenly later you look back at the end of the day and we're just talking to each other. We're like, we're not doing anything here.
And I think if I can interject over here, you see, obviously I interview a lot of people. I interview people with hospitals, with clinics, doctors, physiotherapists and everything. There is a for-profit for a lot of people. They have to run their clinics. Even for me, my nutrition clinic is for-profit. But what you guys are doing, which is not for-profit, and you're not taking something that is unique. Like nobody owns the patent on food. Nobody owns a patent on Satvic type of living. But we have forgotten how to eat correctly. And I think what you guys are doing and those stories that come back to you are so amazing. So let's get into the thick of the Satvic movement and what we do. Now, as a nutritionist, I want somebody to win an Olympic medal as a sports nutritionist. It's the what we eat, okay, how much we eat, and when we eat. So, can you educate me on this idea of how, what, when in the Satvic movement?
For a sportsman or
No, just for general people. Because I think, honestly speaking, Harshavardhan, I think sports people are the most disciplined on the planet. You tell them to eat wheatgrass juice every day. If they win an Olympic medal, they'll follow that.
Right.
For them, it's the mission, right? The problem is the aam aadmi who has no mission. And therefore, food becomes a pleasure byproduct, a sinful byproduct, a naam ke vaste byproduct. It's never looked upon as prasad to the body. The body is the temple. I genuinely think the Satvic movement encompasses that beautiful thing that your body is a temple, you got to worship it. So, what are your hows, whys, and whats and wheres in the Satvic movement?
How's, what's, when's, and why's?
So let me break it down very
Sure.
What's more important? How much you eat or what you eat is more important?
How much you eat or what you eat
is more important.
I think both of them, in their own respect, are very important. You can eat the cleanest food, but if you're eating too much or too often, your body is not going to be able to digest it, and it will lead to creating of toxicity. If you're eating unhealthy food, but you're eating very little also, at some point your body is going to struggle. So, is there an analogy we can share?
So, there's this example of a blender, that if you have a blender and you fill it up with food and you fill it till the very brim and you try switching the power on, what will happen? Will the food be able to get mixed and get blended? No.
Maybe only the bottom layer.
Yes, but if you have to really make a smoothie out of those ingredients, you can't fill it till the top.
Just that much.
Yes, you have to leave some space empty. You have to fill it maybe just halfway or 3/4 way and leave some space empty so that the mixing work, the churning work can happen. So same is true for our bodies. Often today we are eating 2 to 3 times more than our capacity a normal human is eating. And hence we're filling our body, filling our stomachs till the very brim every meal, and we're eating more meals than we require.
I think this is very, very interesting. I recently interviewed a Japanese guest, and he says the Japanese have something called hara hachibu,
Yes.
which is eat only to 80%. And I, as a nutritionist, feel people don't need to eat even to 80%.
Right,
Because you and I are desk jockeys. We're
right.
sitting down all the
Sedentary.
time. So if you work out the calorie requirements of a modern day corporate individual, urban India individual, if you're not plying your field or doing gardening, you just need 1200 calories a day. It's 400 calories in a meal. Literally, I tell people, eat to your heart's content. What is the size of your heart?
Fist.
Fistful.
So sometimes I totally get what you're trying to say, and this blender example is mind blowing. Yes, you're right. Because I remember when I used to make smoothies for the family, I'd be too lazy to make for 3 people and run it 3 times. So I put it right to the top. Then Ben like, "Arey yaar, ye to kar nahi ho raha hai."
Right.
Then I would like slow down,
Yeah.
smaller portions. So that's really, really good. But I wanted to ask you, some people, they will feel heavy even after small meals, whilst others feel very light after a feast. So in the Satvic, do you get different body types of people that that one size does not fit all?
So, what we have understood and realized through our interacting with Sattvic community members is that people have one dosha predominant within them, either Vat or Pitta or Kapha. So, when someone is a Pitta Prakriti, then they have a much stronger digestive power than someone who is, let's say, a Kapha Prakriti. So, even if a Pitta Prakriti, eats relatively more food, they have a strong fire, strong Jathadagni within them, which allows them to digest it. On the other hand, if a Kapha Prakriti, which is made by elements of water and earth, overeats or eats much more than their capacity, they gain weight much more easily because their metabolism, the digestion is naturally more sluggish, naturally weaker than a Pitta Prakriti. So, different foods, different meals definitely react very differently to different body types. And simply, if we are able to understand what our predominant dosha is, we can tweak a lot of the food, a lot of the meals, a lot of our habits, a lot of our schedules as per our dosha and make it aligned to what our dosha is.
In the nutrition practice, we call this the bio-individuality of a person. Ancient Ayurveda has Kapha, Pitta and Vata.
Right.
I think what people need to realize is that when you're born, you've got to stop eating out of love and culture.
Mm-hmm.
There's no science behind it, the ancient science or the modern science. Like, I was recently at a parent's house and the 2-year-old kid was just being fed too much of food. There was no logic to, does the child like the food? Is the food processed or not processed? That's
Right.
also another one, right? So it was a porridge made from a commercial brand. When I looked at the label, it was full of maltodextrin, right? Which is a starchy grain.
Yeah.
It was better off to actually cook boiled rice for the child, right? And mix it with some dal and make a khichdi. But no, they were deciding to do a porridge. So I think what you're saying, the message is that parents need to also help at a very young age, allow children to identify how much to eat, what to eat, and also when to eat.
Yeah.
So when you discover the personality, then I think a parent is not fighting saying, "Arey, usko breakfast, lunch, dinner aaj nahi khaya." Let's keep feeding, let's keep feeding, let's feed eating.
We will get back to the lovely conversation that we're having with Harshavardhan and Subha. But first, let me take a moment to thank our sponsors, for this episode. Ever had to skip the sugar in your chai, coffee, and smoothies or desserts because you're on a weight loss journey or managing diabetes? What if I told you there's a way to enjoy your favorite sweets, stick to your nutrition goals, and still keep things guilt-free? That too with zero compromises. Meet Sweet 10. Made with plant-derived pure stevia extract and erythritol, a polyol that occurs naturally in fruits like peaches, pears, and grapes. So, no artificial sweeteners, no chemical additives, just natural sweetness, which comes from steviol glycosides. And guess what? These are about 250 to 300 times sweeter than regular sugar. And no bitter aftertaste here. That's what makes it stand out from other stevia products. Let me tell you another bonus fact. There's a link down below where you can get 15% off on your purchases of Sweet 10 sachets now. Go ahead, satisfy that sweet tooth. Stir it into your chai, coffee, smoothies, desserts, baked goods, and all your other favorites. Enjoy all the sweetness, ditch the extra calories, and keep the guilt miles away. Now, let's get back to the episode.
One thing that I'm teaching my 11-year-old kid is to try and give gratitude to the farmers before the kind of before you eat a meal. So in the Satvic movement, talk to me about gratitude and eating.
I think this is a very crucial part because whenever we see food, we are quick to scientifically analyze it, and we see it as it has X nutrients, X calories, the fat, the vitamins, the nutrition. But when we see it one step beyond its scientific properties, we are able to realize food is alive. Food has energy in it. And when we see that food that has been on our plate as a source of energy, I think there's a different relationship we are able to feel towards that. And that's when the gratitude or the sense of food prayer comes in. So at Satvic movement, we have a food prayer that we recite before our meals. And a part of that prayer is the gratitude to the farmers. And while we are reciting that relationship that we have with that food on our plate is very different to what it is before we recite that prayer. Maybe before the prayer, we're hungry, we need to eat something, come, let's fill our stomach. After the prayer, it's, wait a second, there's a lot of effort, love, energy, time that has gone in to create this. So the shift just after saying the prayer is so apparent that we have a different relationship with what's on our plate, and we can sense that energy.
In today's world, we mindlessly eat. Stand and eat, go to the office, eat, click a e-commerce button, it comes running and it gets to you, and nobody is pausing before they begin the process of eating food.
Can I just add something there? Something that I learned from my teacher, that eating a food, eating any meal is like doing a havan. How do we do a havan? We collect all the samagri, all the ingredients for the havan in advance. We put them all in one place, and then the fire begins, and we add one samagri, one ingredient to that fire. We do it with peace. We do it with a sense of stability. But what we are doing today, we are not far from a havan. When it comes to this digestive fire, घूमते फिरते भागते दौड़ते, we just keep putting anything in, snacking, munching any time of the day. And we treat the outside fire with so much reverence, but this inside fire, when eating a meal is supposed to be like that havan, we just make it a frivolous, casual affair that we just put something in, as you said, and done. But it's supposed to be a sacred act of nourishing our being, eating a meal.
I married a Hindu, and we were doing a puja in our house. Bought the house, and it's a Satyanarayan puja. And so the pujari knew I was not a Hindu, and I was sitting down over there. So he took the time to explain it. And where am I going with the stories? You talked about the havan and the fire, right? And I remember this exact same thought, that there is so much of scientific thought to the ingredient that he was putting in. And he was explaining to me in English what was being done. And I was like, whoa, this fire is getting correct, literally, like as a scientist, chemical formula. Like, but okay, the fire is getting this, the fire is getting that. And what you're saying right now is so amazing that if there was a Havan inside of us, aerated beverages, processed noodles, all the palm oils and this oils and that oil, we're putting stuff into us that, yes, you would do a very proper Havan in a puja because the pujari is there giving you, he gave us a shopping list. You buy only this. You cannot get this oil. You have to get this oil. You have to get this twig. You have to get this camphor. So, with me as a nutritionist and you as people in the Satvic movement, how important is it for people to just understand, slow down, and pay due respect to what you're going to be putting into your body? And there's a jump before that. Have a shopping list ready of what you're going to put into your body. And to be ready to understand that shopping list, daudna, bhagne, will not allow you to have a perfect shopping list. So, speaking of running, I've seen the opposite of running, which is fighting in the kitchen. Right? I ran healthy food kitchen at one point called iTiffin. Unfortunately, for whatever reasons, it never succeeded. But I always remember that I used to tell the cooks and chefs, boss, you're feeding people healthy food. So one day they were fighting in the kitchen. I need you to explain to me from the principles of Satvic. Do the cooks also transfer energy to the food?
This reminds me of a story. If you allow me, I'll quickly share it.
No, you have all the time.
Okay. The story is set in a palace where there is a king who is very generous, and he makes sure that he feeds his people who live in his kingdom. And one such person who comes for the feast is the local pandit. So he's the priest, and he comes every week. And because he's a special person, the king feeds him with his own hands.
Okay.
And this is a very sacred ritual, and it's going on for 20 years. So there's a delicious feast, as you can imagine, laid out by the king for the pandit, and he is ready to eat his feast. While eating, this one particular time this happens, the pandit gets a feeling in his heart, my daughter is getting married in a couple of months, and it's customary in our tradition to give a gift in your daughter's wedding. And he comes from a very humble background where he doesn't have much. He lives on alms. But that desire is still there to give something for my daughter. And as you can imagine, in a kingdom, the cutlery is all made of gold. The plates are gold, the forks, spoons, everything's made of gold. This thought crosses his mind, what if I just take the spoon and the fork? It would make for a wonderful gift for my daughter's wedding. But the very next minute he got a thought, are you crazy? Like, this is the last place you can steal from. You're indebted to this king and he takes such good care of you. How can you even think that? And you're someone of spiritual, demeanor that cannot. So he caught himself. A few minutes later, as he was about to finish the meal, he thought once again, but I'm not taking it for myself. This is as a gift for my daughter. And definitely the king has more than enough and it won't matter. 2 spoons or 2 forks, it's okay. So he got convinced, he quietly put the spoon and the fork in his bag and has made his way home. That evening, when he was doing the scriptural reading and the part, he was overcome by immense grief and guilt at his own actions in the daytime. And you can imagine that he just felt so disturbed that he ran immediately back to the king. He saw the king, he bowed down, he prostrated, and he was like, he put the golden spoon and fork that he stole and he put it at his feet and he said, please forgive me if you can. I have stolen this today for lunch and I don't know how I did this. I want to return it and I want to tell you that any punishment you give me is fair. I have done the most heinous crime. Please banish me from this kingdom and, tell me how I can, punish me for this. He was genuinely very guilty. And the king, he knew the person for 20 years. He knew he had a good heart. Took him up, said, please sit down. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. You're going to give it to your daughter. He's trying to console him, make him feel comfortable. It's fine, don't worry. He said, absolutely not, please, I can't have this. So now, cutting the story a little short, the king and the priest had a discussion. The king will take it back, the spoon and the fork, on one condition: the priest continues to come and eat every week. So the priest had said, I don't deserve to come back here. He said, no, this is the condition. So they agreed, they made peace with it. He went back home, the priest, he returned the spoon and fork, and this thought still haunted him. How could I have stolen? What could have happened? The next time he was there at the king's feast, he said, I want to meet the person, who prepared my food. And then the staff in the kingdom said, yeah, he's been preparing food for a long time. Like, okay, I want to meet him. Called for him. They realized that particular week, the main chef was on leave. This was a substitute chef who had come to prepare the meal. He said, can I meet him? That chef had gone back to his village. He said, call him, I want to meet him. So they called that substitute chef back, and now the scene is the priest and the substitute chef are talking. He's saying, you had made the food for me that day? He's saying, yes, I had made the food for everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. He's saying, the taste was good. He's like, was there something different for you that day? He said, absolutely nothing different. I did my best. He said, what were the thoughts that were going on in your mind while you were here for a substitute for 1 week? Upon probing, this is after asking a lot of questions, he realized what the substitute chef said. See, I come from a very poor family, and I am surrounded by all these riches and golden spoons and forks and knives and plates. I do feel tempted at times that, what if I had even 1 or 2 of these, my whole life would be sorted. But I think I was too scared of the king. Dare I steal anything here, I'll be, hung. So I didn't steal anything, I promise you. I promise you I didn't steal anything. Please don't do anything. He said, of course, I'm not accusing you. And that's when the priest understood. While preparing that food, coming back to your question, that substitute chef had those thoughts brewing in his mind. What if I could take something from you, which was not mine? And now we come to the moral of the story, that however unscientific this may sound, however absurd this may sound, energy travels, vibrations travel, thoughts travel, and food is very fast to pick up. Food and water are those kind of entities that they're very fast to pick up these energies and transfer it onto the person who's then consuming or eating the food. And that's when the priest realized, imagine the effect, how strong the thought must have been for the chef, that for someone with such a spiritual background to get influenced by just the food he consumed on that day. And in our own house, Ryan, we make it a point, those who are serving or preparing our food, is that we want to treat them like our friends. We'll go check in on them. We'll see if we can help them at any time. We'll make sure they are happy. Not because we only want them to prepare clean energy food, but that relationship is not of I pay you and you must do this for me. It's of, yeah, you are supporting us, we're supporting you, and we like each other beyond the transaction. So I think from that story made us very careful and cautious that we must maintain that energy for the people, the space, the ingredients as much as we can. So this story always stays with me, and I'm glad I got a chance to share it with you.
I've always been telling this to people, and your story is a story that I'm going to take your permission to replicate with somebody else, because it's so amazing. Because when you tell people, no, there is an energy transfer, the water vibrational and scalar energy models, if somebody's taking bad thoughts, nobody's going to like that. But this king story with fork and spoon and stealing is so amazing. Sticking to forks and spoons. The hand, right? I come from a family of 2 different cultures. My mother is from the Portuguese Goan orientation, and my father was a Tamilian. Is a Tamilian, sorry. And I lived in 2 worlds. So my dad's side of the family would eat with hands, and my mom's side of the family would eat with fork, spoon, and knife, and soup spoon. Right? So my mom always believed that she's from royalty, and my father would be like, but we've always eaten with our hand. So as a kid, when I would go to my mom's side, I would eat with my hand just to spite them. And when I go with my father's side, I would eat with fork and spoon to spite them. So I'm ambidextrous, I can use both. And my father always laughs at me, says, you don't know how to eat with your hands, because when I eat with my hands, 1 finger will come out like that. I really don't know. I was never taught. But Share the score for me. Eating with hands, how powerful is it?
I think Subha can throw light on the energy part, but I think it's just more enjoyable. The food itself tastes better. Now you could call it placebo or whatever it is, but for me, I think the whole act of eating with the hands, it's a little messy, a little bit false, but I think that's the whole art of the eating the food. And I find it, unless of course if it's soup or if it's something that can't be consumed by hands, but the whole act otherwise is just more pleasurable, I feel.
So I want to share something with you before Subha comes in. It's going to be my lifelong dream to go to London, to go to one of the poshest restaurants and actually eat with my hands in a restaurant. Because I'm going to say 1.4 billion people eat with their hands, and we have karmic destiny. That in the ancient time, it was told that the energy signature from these 5 fingers is actually better than silverware. But at home, I'll still have a silver set of forks and spoon. Just to let the world know there's always a different narrative and there's always a different story. But what about the energy?
You're a
part?
naughty man, huh? You want to rub things in everywhere.
So here's the point, okay? I've studied in the United Kingdom, right? And obviously, I'm talking about in the 90s, where the narrative is, oh, you're a poor country.
Mm.
We are a poor country because maybe we were looted
Mm.
for many centuries. But in essence of being poor in our scriptures, in our history, in our art, in our culture, in our Ayurveda, in our eating, in the variety of spices,
Very rich.
we are the baps of everything.
Mm.
So from that perspective, I think we've been sold a narrative that we were an inferior type of culture. And I think it needs to change.
Right.
It really needs to change. So I will be that naughty man that turns up if invited to Buckingham Palace with King Charles. I'm like, King Charles, if you don't mind, I'm rolling up my sleeves.
Throw the towel away.
I'm going to eat with my hands. So the energy part, do you feel there's anything that we want to compound over here?
So, eating with hands, this is something that our scriptures have been talking about, our ancient texts have been teaching us since time immemorial. There's 3 main reasons for this. Number 1, when we eat with our hands, as soon as we touch our food, our fingers, the tips of our fingers, have nerve endings. And as soon as we touch our food, there's a signal that goes from our fingers to our brain that there's going to be food incoming now. So our brain gives a signal to all our digestive organs, to our stomach, okay, keep your digestive juices ready, to your liver, to your entire intestinal tract, that food is going to be coming. So they get lubricated, they prepare themselves. Versus when we eat with cutlery, when we eat with stainless steel spoon or silver spoon,
Signal is broken.
that signal is broken. The second thing that eating with hands does is when you eat with your hands, you can't touch something too hot or too cold. And again, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned that when we eat food that is too hot or too cold, it doesn't do us any good. Because our body has to put double the energy first to bring that too hot, too cold food into room temperature and then also to process it. So it is recommended to eat food that is normal temperature, room temperature. So our fingers don't let us eat something which is too hot or too cold. We would naturally allow the food to come to room temperature before we would eat it with our hands. And number 3, there's a concept called mindful eating, where we learn that when we eat our food, we should fully be with our food. Sometimes joke about it that we humans are so funny, we are funny creatures. All day, we think, what am I going to eat for lunch? What am I going to eat for dinner? What am I going to have for breakfast? We are working and we're thinking, aaj lunch mein kya milega? But when we're actually sitting on the lunch table or the dinner table and we're having our lunch, we're thinking about everything but our meal.
It's so cute that you say that, because the other day I was watching a couple. Me and my wife had gone out for dinner. I was telling my wife, check out this couple, okay? So we have this thing that no phones when we go out on a date, right? Because you're multitasking. There are people calling up, give me this diet plan, my cholesterol bad. So I had to put my phone down. And there was this couple, and I'm sure they spent the whole weekend planning to meet each other, right? Where are we going to meet? We're going to meet at the restaurant, and you could make out they were new in love and stuff like that. And then both of them come in. They're like all hunky-dory for the first 2 minutes, and then boom, both of them are inside their phones.
Right.
So eating is the same thing. So actually my next question was this one, that we have a gene test in our clinic which measures satiety and snacking gene.
Mm.
Satiety means sense of fullness. So you have a
Mm.
gene that can switch on or off
Mm.
and tell you, bhai, pet to bhar gaya.
Mhm.
Snacking gene is like you keep foraging,
Mhm.
keep eating small at a time. So the satiety gene gets affected when you don't focus
Mm.
on the food that you're eating.
Right.
You're mindfully distracted. So is there advice that when you sit down in the Satvic movement, get rid of the books, newspapers, television, mobile phone? Would you advise that?
I think the best way to eat is eat undistracted, which means that especially if there's anything which is taking a mental toll on you, if you're sitting on the table but there's two people arguing or two people fighting with each other, your body's energy is then split between here and here because you're having to process a lot of that information. But when you eat, you want all of your energy to be focused here on your digestive organs.
I'm smiling because my media team, no more lunch meetings with me, okay? I'm going to sit down, I'm going to roll up my sleeves, three-piece suit, and I'm going to eat with my hands. Nobody's meeting me for that half an hour. No meetings anymore. So back to you now. So it does harm your digestive energy and your system.
Yes, there was a nature cure doctor. His name was Acharya K. Lakshman Sharma. He's the father of nature cure, natural healing in India. And he had a very interesting quote which said, "Work and digestion must always be kept apart." So
Work
that
and digestion
must always be kept apart so that there may be no competition between them.
Beautiful.
So when you are eating, when you are digesting, not just while you're eating, but immediately after you finish your meal, you shouldn't immediately go back to work because your stomach fights for your energy. It's like, I need all this energy so that I can digest this food. Your brain also fights for that energy. I need this energy to think.
Makes so much of sense because when I work with athletes, they finish a meal and like I need to go back to training, especially in swimming. They've always said after finishing a meal, never go swimming because you could
Yes.
cramp and drown.
Right.
I tell the athletes don't go running because you don't want all the blood in your legs. You want the blood at the
Exactly.
stomach. So that makes
Exactly.
so much sense.
That's
Forget
why so many
muscles.
countries have siesta time, whether it's
Oh, we
Spain.
Goans have that.
Yes.
My team is smiling right now because if they come in at 2:30, boss is fast asleep on his couch and
Yeah.
I have to take a nap.
That's one of the healthiest things you're doing.
So let's get some other knowledges from you guys, which is what about drinking water and the temperature of water before, during, or after a meal? What would be your guidance?
I think drinking water is something many of us do every day, multiple times a day, yet we make several mistakes when it comes to drinking water. We can share the 4 top ones that we have seen and observed. Number 1, we drink water too fast. So we quickly gulp down the water that we put in our glasses or in our bottles. What that does is, as soon as we drink so much water, our body gets a mini shock and it doesn't know how to process all of it. Versus how we're actually supposed to drink is we're supposed to eat our water, which means that when we put a sip of water in our mouth, we're supposed to squish it in our mouth for a few seconds, just 2-3 seconds before we swallow it inside, which is much more gentler for the system. The second mistake we drink when drinking water is we drink water which is too hot or too cold, just like we were sharing with food. Body has to put double the effort when we drink water straight from the fridge or the freezer, or when it's extremely hot. Body has to put double effort first to bring that water into room temperature and then to process it. So we must always drink water at room temperature. And if it is very hot outside, if it's summer, then the best hack is having a mitti ka bartan, which allows the water to be cool without using ice or without using a fridge, without becoming too cold. The third mistake that we commit when drinking water is we drink water along with our meals. And it is said in our ancient texts that we have a Jathar Agni inside, which is always burning. If we're having a meal and in between the meal we gulp down an entire glass of water, what happens to that Jathar Agni? It basically gets extinguished. And with an extinguished Jathar Agni, with an extinguished digestive fire, it's much harder for the body to process that meal, to break down that meal. So it is recommended to have water at least 2 hours after your meal, or If you have to have it with your meal, then not gulp it down, but have small sips. And the last mistake we commit is having all the time having water out of plastic bottles. And especially the plastic bottles that we drink water from have often been kept in hot environments before they come to us, which makes the microplastics in that bottle release into our water. So we end up consuming a lot of microplastic through our water. Instead, if we use copper, steel, any material which doesn't leach into our water, it's much better for us. So yeah, just having water room temperature, having it sip by sip without gulping it down, having it from the right equipment,
Container.
and having it maintaining a distance between meal times and water. These are some of the things we could do.
Just one more point on the water, which I've personally found very interesting. If after a meal I find myself getting very thirsty, then I know that what I ate was not cooked the right way, or too spicy, or too salty. And if I feel like there's no need to consume water after, then it's
a perfect meal.
yeah. So very often I'm able to, of course, while eating we can pay attention and notice, but when you feel thirsty after, I'm like, wait, what did I eat that I'm feeling so thirsty now? It's almost a way of testing, and many people feel like it's natural to drink a couple of glasses after your meal, and we, of course, we don't want to comment and don't judge anyone, but then we realize like it's going to affect your digestion. It's like you're just interfering with the ability of the body to digest, but the food is so salty or so spicy or so overcooked that the water is, you just, before they know it, 2 glasses down. In fact, on our table while we serve food, there's no water served, and then some, if the guest comes, we kind of want to just make sure, would you like, should we get water for you, because we don't want to be rude and not offer water. And then that's when we realize, oh wait, we've never really had water around when we're eating food.
So we talk a lot about Satvic food. I want to ask you, Ryan, do you know what's the first characteristic of Satvic food that our Vedas describe?
I have no idea. Please enlighten me.
So, the first characteristic, as per the Gita, is that Satvic food is rasya in nature.
What does rasya mean?
Rasya means water rich, in other words, it's juicy in nature. This is not us saying it. This is something which was written centuries ago in the Bhagavad Gita.
Not centuries, millennia.
Yes, millennia ago. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is written in chapter 17 that Ayu Sattva Balarogya, which means food that increases your Ayu, increases your Bal, strength, which increases Arogya, which is health, is the first characteristic. It's rasya in nature. Today, like you were saying, that 40 to 50% water our food should contain is something which was spoken about in the Bhagavad Gita so long back. And in the immediate next verse, the characteristics of Rajasic food are described. Rajasic food is that which makes us feel restless, which makes us feel anxious, which makes us feel egoistic. And one of the characteristics of Rajasic food that is described is its rukshna in nature, which is its drying in nature. So we share in our videos, in our books, that eat food that is water rich, that is full of water, naturally has a lot of water. So that's another, another principle, very important principle of Satvic food. In fact, the first and foremost principle.
Now, as you were speaking, what was going through my head was this, which means all the packaged food that you get is devoid of water to prevent it spoiling. And therefore you have to add water. But the vibrational frequency of water being added versus processed food vibration doesn't really gel very well. So you want to look for foods that don't come in a packet, which come from nature ready-made. And if it comes in from nature ready-made, it can't be stale because it's going to get spoiled. Which means fresh, more water content, lesser amount in a plastic packet.
Yes.
Wow, this is like same frequency. So we've got this fire inside of us, and should we drink water, should we not drink water? And obviously this fire has digestive juices, and you put food in. Are there any combinations that in the Satvic movement we say no? I know there are certain types of food which are an absolute no, but are there any combination of foods that you not advise?
If we go very idealistic, very, strict, there's like 10 combinations that you should not combine. But we have realized that in practical day-to-day life, it becomes pretty impractical to follow such rigid rules, especially when at Satvic Movement we recommend people to eat a whole food plant-based diet and they already have to give up so much. But there are three combinations which are like the worst of all, which we recommend people to not indulge in. The first is combining fruits with cooked food. So fruits have a very different nature and cooked food has a very different nature. So when they go inside your stomach, they need separate digestive juices to be broken down. And often our stomach is not able to digest such different digestive juices altogether, and hence the food is left undigested. A lot of us, especially in the summer, have this habit of having like our dinner and having a mango immediately after. So that's something we advise the Sattva community against. The second is what we already spoke of, having water, having a lot of water with your meals. If you want to have small sips, that's fine. But when we just chuck down water in between our meals, so water and meals should ideally be kept apart. And the third is you shouldn't mix too much together in general. So in today's day and age, we have this habit, especially when it comes to buffets, when we go to a hotel and we have, see like a wide array of dishes in front of us. We fill our plate with like at least 15 different dishes, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And if we just count the number of ingredients on our plate, it's just massive. We probably have like 40 different ingredients lying on that one thali. But again, our digestive system is very simple. It needs simple combinations. And the more we mix, the more we combine, even if it's all great food, it's more stressful for our systems to process it. So we recommend that if you're sitting on a dining table and if there's 10 dishes in front of you, rather than picking all 10, pick the 2 or 3 dishes that you like the most. If you have rice also, chapati also, dal also, pick either rice or chapati and not the two together. The simpler we keep our food, the more faster it is to digest. The faster the food it is to digest, the lighter we feel, the more energetic we feel right after eating it.
I think, Subha, this is so apt because as you were speaking, I was going back to your younger teenager self and how maybe culturally we're taught that, acha beta, pehle to rice chahiye, uske baad roti chahiye, and then there's so many things
Yes.
that most of us in urban India who come from a little bit more affluent families, we feel that eating more variety, eating more quantity is a healthier household.
Right.
When the purity of it is eat lesser, eat simpler, eat cleaner.
Ryan, we gave you the books, right? The food books.
Yes.
To get those recipes developed, you can imagine a lot of trials go on. And our team invites us to, share our feedback. Now, they get us, we meet them, let's say once in a week or once in 2 weeks. So they prepare a lot of dishes for us to try. We try one bite, not a lot. But after we've tasted 10, 15 things,
You can feel it's different.
we are just like, what have we done? Like, it just feels not right. And then we realize, we talk to each other, it's not the quantity of what we, it's just, there's too much. The body is just like, wait, what's going on? Each dish is a complex dish in itself, and it is so many dishes. So this practical experience of the body disagreeing with so many combinations. We think, simple rakho, keep things simple, don't overthink it, just body will have an easier time. And that's a practical experience we've had.
अभी तो हम लोग खाने के बाद किया. I want to shift अभी तो non खाने का चीज. Okay. So like let's talk about the Satvic.
What's with the Hindi in the middle?
And the Hindi in the middle is like, I don't know, I just have this thing. India is demanding that I speak Hindi because they find it very cute.
But it's very cute.
Yeah, so the other day, one of my classmates called me up and he says, पता है, you failed in Hindi in 10th standard, no? So मेरे को पता है, लेकिन 1.5 million followers है, दिल मांगे मोर, तो मेरे को बोलना ही चाहिए ना, जितना टूटा फूटा है तो बोलना पड़ेगा.
Cute है.
So I have to sometimes, it's become a subconscious now that there is this Ryan inside of back of me, who you can imagine as this alternate avatar. Maybe his name is Narayan. Okay? So he's trying to burst out. So suddenly the podcast is Narayan comes in and is like, भाई हिंदी में बोलो यार, तुम अंग्रेज में क्यों बात कर रहे हैं?
Ryan and Narayan.
Yeah, because once I went for a function, it's like, आप Narayan sir है ना? I looked at the guy. I was like,
Idea तो अच्छा दिया है.
हाँ Ryan है, बाद में Ryan है, उसके पहले Narayan. हाँ ठीक है Narayan. So South India has this combination, and in North India it becomes Riyan. So I feel that is a better avatar. So it is what it is. Okay, so we're getting into the non-food part. Sleep. कोई लोग जो होता है 7-8 hours sleep they get it, बोलता है कि भाई नींद नहीं मिल गया. What is the perspective from that end? And you can answer in Hindi because a lot of our podcasters will like, भाई तुम अंग्रेज लोग हैं, हमको हिंदी नहीं समझ, हमको अंग्रेज नहीं समझते. So we'll give them some benefit of the non-food part in Hindi.
तो स्लीप को हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं?
निद्रा.
नींद.
नींद.
हाँ.
सो नींद को हम हमेशा सिर्फ घंटों में गिनते हैं कि कितने घंटे आपने सोया, लेकिन उसका एक और डायमेंशन है जो हमें कभी सिखाया ही नहीं गया. वो है उसकी क्वालिटी कैसे थी. क्वालिटी को हिंदी में क्या बोलेंगे?
क्वालिटी सब लोग मालूम
मान
है
लें.
quality.
तो उसकी क्वालिटी क्या थी, ये एक चीज़ है जिसको हमें कभी बताया ही नहीं जाता कि क्वालिटी स्लीप की क्वालिटी भी होती है. तो जब हम वो पार्ट को समझ लेंगे तब हमें शायद 5 घंटे ही काफ़ी लगे, शायद 7 घंटे लगे, वो सेकेंडरी हो जाएगा. क्योंकि उन 5 घंटों में आपको बॉडी को कितना रिचार्ज हो रहा है वो ज़्यादा ज़रूरी सवाल होगी. और हम ये बता सकते हैं आपको कि हम क्या कर सकते हैं ताकि आप कम समय में ज़्यादा रिचार्ज हो सके. जानना चाहेंगे?
हाँ जी.
सुबह बताओगे?
एक्चुअली क्वेश्चन ये नहीं है क्या कर सकते हैं, क्वेश्चन ये है कि हम क्या करते हैं जो हमारी बॉडी को रिचार्ज नहीं होने
ये भी
देता
अच्छी बात है.
प्रॉपर्ली. सो एज अ ह्यूमन हम वी आर ब्लेस्ड विद डीप स्लीप. हमें गहरी नींद आने के लिए हम बने हैं, लेकिन आजकल हम सब लाइट स्लीप में अपना रात बिता देते हैं. और सबसे बड़ा कारण उसका है कि जो लास्ट 1 घंटा होता है सोने से पहले, उसमें हम क्या करते हैं वो हमारे अगले 7 से 8 घंटे को डिसाइड करता है. अगर हम उस लास्ट 1 घंटे में अपने गैजेट्स पे हैं, हम सोशल मीडिया इन्फॉर्मेशन अपने माइंड को बॉम्बार्ड कर रहे हैं इतनी सारी सोशल मीडिया इन्फॉर्मेशन से, हम सेलिब्रिटी गॉसिप देख रहे हैं, हम कोई काम कर रहे हैं, हम नेटफ्लिक्स पे कोई शो देख रहे हैं, हम बहुत ज़्यादा अपने आप को इन्फॉर्मेशन ओवरलोड दे रहे हैं अपने ब्रेन को प्रोसेस करने के लिए. और जैसे हम एक एरोप्लेन के एग्जांपल से समझाते हैं कि अगर एरोप्लेन यहाँ पे उड़ रहा है, उसको नीचे आने के लिए ऐसे लैंडिंग करनी पड़ती है, वो ऐसे तुरंत नीचे नहीं आ सकता. सेम वे हमारा जो ब्रेन होता है, अगर हमें उसको नींद में लेके जाना है, ऐसे नहीं होता कि हम इतने स्टिम्युलेटेड है, इतना सारा इन्फॉर्मेशन ब्रेन प्रोसेस कर रहा है, काम कर रहा है और तुरंत वो स्लीप में चला जाए. ऐसे नहीं होता, उसको थोड़ा टाइम लगता है. तो वो 1 घंटा जो होता है स्लीप से पहले, इट्स रिकमेंडेड कि हम उसको एक वाइंड डाउन आवर बनाएं अपना. हम उसमें गैजेट्स छोड़ के, सारी हाई स्टिमुलेशन एक्टिविटीज़ छोड़ के लो स्टिमुलेशन एक्टिविटीज़ करें. हाई स्टिमुलेशन एक्टिविटीज़ इंक्लूड हम जब शोज़ देखते हैं टीवी पे, हम जब स्क्रॉल करते हैं, हम जब काम करते हैं, हम अपने ईमेल्स आंसर करते हैं, दोस आर ऑल हाई स्टिमुलेशन. लो स्टिमुलेशन एक्टिविटीज़ आर जब हम अपनी फैमिली के साथ टाइम बिताते हैं, जब हम कुछ रीड करते हैं जिसमें बहुत ज़्यादा स्टिमुलेशन नहीं है, जब हम सिंपल कोई सॉफ्ट म्यूज़िक सुनते हैं, जब हम कुछ भी जर्नलिंग करते हैं, जब हम अगर किसी को सिंगिंग का शौक़ है तब हम सिंगिंग करते हैं. ये सब लो स्टिमुलेशन एक्टिविटीज़ होती है. तो जब हम कोई लो स्टिमुलेशन एक्टिविटी करके सोते हैं, हमें पहले से बहुत गहरी नींद आने लगती है. और सबसे ख़राब चीज़ होती है जो आपको तुरंत नहीं छोड़ देनी चाहिए, वो है कि जब हम कोई नेगेटिव इन्फॉर्मेशन लेके सुनते हैं, उसका असर हमारी पूरी नेक्स्ट 7 से 8 घंटे पे पड़ता है. क्योंकि जो भी लास्ट ऑडियो या विजुअल होता है जो हम अपने ब्रेन को एक्सपोज करते हैं, जो हम अपने आइज़ को दिखाते हैं, वो लिटरली हमारी स्लीप में सोक हो जाता है, हमारे साथ वो नींद तक जाता है. सो द वर्स्ट वी कैन डू इज़ वॉच हॉरर मूवीज़, द वर्स्ट वी कैन डू इज़ वॉच क्राइम शोज़ बिफोर स्लीप, because we are staining our mental canvas for the next 7 to 8 hours.
I like that statement, staining our mental canvas. Speaking of canvas is one type of fabric. Very few people talk about जो कपड़ा हम पहनते हैं.
I love how you connect everything.
आप वेट कर रहे हो क्या, कौन से वर्ड को कैसे पकड़ के कनेक्ट कर देंगे.
So because I was like okay यार, तो कैनवस, अरे कैनवस में तो कैनवस कौन सा कैनवस, पेंटिंग का कैनवस, तो जो कैनवस का टेंट, अभी लेटेस्ट आ गया कि कैनवस का ट्राउजर्स आ गया फैशन में. बट लोग मेरे पास आते हैं, बोलते हैं सर once you change their diet, they become fans, right? Like, अच्छा नींद कैसा करने का है, fashion कैसा करने का है. So my question to the Satvic principles of life is, does clothing affect? Because I've seen both of you are wearing khadi, you're wearing cotton, you're wearing linen, right? Um, is there ancient wisdom in the modern day clothing affecting our health?
The most beautiful thing about our ancient wisdom is that everything, what clothes we wear, what water we drink, how we eat, what we eat, when we eat, there are rituals about it. So today we're just trying to go back to those rituals. And even with clothing, our ancient texts, not just our ancient texts, even modern science tells that there are majorly what we have learned three mistakes that we are making which negatively impact our health when it comes to clothing. The first thing is we as a society have started to wear very tight fitting clothing, tight shirts, tight jeans, tight dresses, tight belts, tight bras, tight even undergarments which leave marks on our skin. But what this does is it pinches our nerves, it compresses our nerves when it's so tight. And when our nerves are compressed, it doesn't allow blood to easily circulate through them. When blood is not easily circulating through our body, oxygen is not reaching all our body parts. So we wear it for fashion, but we forget that our body is getting squeezed inside, our organs are getting squeezed inside. So the most easy thing to do instead is to simply wear loose, comfortable clothing, which is slightly loose, which doesn't compress any of your body organs. The second mistake we make when it comes to clothing is we wear synthetic fibers, we wear synthetic fabrics. So, fabrics like nylon, polyester, lycra, spandex, these are when they are made in the factories, there's a lot of petroleum chemicals that are used in order to make them. And our clothing is something which is sticking to our skin 24 hours a day. Whatever is inside it, it is on a very subtle level getting absorbed into our skin. So when we're wearing fabrics which are made using so many chemicals, that's what's getting absorbed. Instead, we recommend wearing natural fibers which are much more breathable, such as cotton, linen. There is cotton, linen are the most common ones, and then there's also hemp, bamboo, jute. These are all natural fibers. The third mistake when it comes to clothing is more specific to women, which is one of the biggest, fashion trends today, which is negatively impacting us, is wearing underwire bras. So that's something when we wear underwire bras, just like how we were talking earlier, it restricts the blood supply and it causes our blood to get stagnated near the breast tissue. So instead, it is recommended to wear wire free bras, which are much more healthier for a woman. So, yeah, I think wearing clothing in general for comfort, not to show, but for our own comfort, is what the Satvic way of clothing is.
So, in the Satvic movement, raw food, cooking utensils, what's the take over there? What sort of choices do you advise people when they start learning to take charge of their life?
When it comes to food and cooking utensils, we advise people to use something that comes from the earth, which is clayware. That's our most first recommendation to people, if you can cook in clayware. And we ourselves at home are using clayware for a long time, and almost everything except chola and rajma, for which we need a pressure cooker.
By the way, I have a clayware pressure cooker.
Damn.
What?
Yes. I
Really?
We need to see
discovered it.
that.
Now, here's my problem. My housekeeping at home, sir, वो stainless steel वाला बहुत अच्छा है. So this actually is clayware and it's got it, but it doesn't have one where it can generate enough of pressure.
Okay.
But it does have the lid on top. And
Okay.
I'm going to send you one of those.
I'll be
shortly.
very keen to see how it works. But
So
it's,
I like the clayware idea, but as we say, practically we have housekeeping at home, domestic help, tuta futa, they bang and break it, and all. It breaks very easily. Any other alternatives?
so stainless steel is the next best, or cast iron.
I
But-
think cast iron is pretty good, right?
Yes, as far as we avoid the aluminum, I think that's something we are very clear about, that we don't recommend people consuming or preparing food in aluminum. And clayware, when you said it's tough, I would be curious to know. Of course, it needs to be a little more taken care of. But in our house, I think it just takes initial getting used to. And when they are comfortable initially, then it's just another.
Also with clay, the tawa is tough. So we recommend the tawa made of cast iron. But the handi for cooking vegetables is actually very low maintenance. Our handi which we're using right now at home is like 3 years old.
Yeah.
We've been using the same handi.
And this is made of clay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has different clay at the bottom to make sure it can withstand the temperature.
How do you clean it? Because I used to get crazy because you can see dots inside, right? And then you really want to scrub it and stuff like that. So I'm a little bit of an OCD guy, right? So I used to like try and use vinegar or salt and clean it. So
Sure.
how do you clean your?
So when it comes to clay, as you said, it has a lot of pores. That's also what makes it so powerful as a material to
How
cook.
so?
Because see, the principle with food is the more heat you put your food to, the lesser the nutrition remains in it. So it's recommended to cook at low temperatures and to cook for least amount of time so that your food is not exposed to high heat. So when we cook in clayware, it's porous in nature because it's so full of pores. So the heat inside the pot is allowed to come out of the pot when you cook your food in it. It's not only staying inside as it would in a metal. So it doesn't allow your food to get heated at very high temperatures. It maintains a lower temperature inside the pot, and thus more nutrition remains inside your food.
Makes sense because a stainless steel guy would translate the heat straight into the in the food,
Yeah.
and it would
Yeah.
go at a higher temperature.
Yeah.
Never thought of it
But
that way.
when it comes to cleaning clayware, for the same reason, because it's porous, you shouldn't ever use soap on it. So like you were
Because the
doing,
soap goes into the
It'll
pores
absorb
and
it.
the
yes.
And it'll come out in the food later because it's
Yeah.
all mixing there.
So you get lemon flavored, artificial lemon flavored bindi.
Yeah. So we simply use like the coconut scrubber,
Yeah.
the coconut husk actually. When you break a nariyal, the
Top,
fiber
the-
that
yeah.
remains, you just use that to scrub it and you just use water. You don't need anything else.
Yeah, because everything inside is still organic.
Yeah, especially if you're using less oil in your food or no oil in your food, then it's even more easy. Only when we cook like using a lot of oil, then it becomes a little harder to clean.
But it should look cleaner. Ours looks clean on the inside. So if it's not looking clean, there's something wrong.
There's something wrong with your food or with your scrubbing process. Speaking of scrubbing process, I love to keep my house clean. And the ancient scriptures have feng shui or Vastu, is it called, right? In the Satvic movement, is there anything about the layout of your house or how you live or how you sleep? Where's the bed position? Educate me. I'm clueless on this part. Or there's nothing. It's only the food.
I think there's one thing that we feel directly correlates with the lifestyle and our personal choice both is the amount of sunlight that the house should receive. A big part of the Sattvic lifestyle includes sunbathing, which means receiving that energy, nourishment directly from the sun to our skin. So what sunbathing is exposing your skin to the sun either in the early morning hours or the late evening hours for 20 minutes or so. And if the house itself is not receiving sunlight from anywhere, then it's very hard to conduct a practice like that. And the sun itself is a mood booster. It helps us start our day with the right note. So when we recommend people or when we look for our own house, we just try and make sure there's enough and ample sunlight entering the house to whichever extent. And it so happens that when we look at the Vastu or any of these traditional, they also agree a lot in this, that the wind circulation, the sunlight is what really defines, if we were to call it a Sattvic home in that sense. You want to add something to that?
Yeah, just we hear about seasonal affective disorder, where in Scandinavian countries, people get literally depressed in the winter months when sun doesn't come for months on end. The highest suicide rates in the Scandinavian countries happen when it's winter over there. So sunlight and our mood has a very direct correlation. If we are spending our entire day, our entire mornings without sunlight, we're basically not fulfilling a very important biological need for our bodies. And a lot of the Vastu rituals, rules that today have become all ritualistic. were based on the 5 elements of nature, on earth, fire, air, ether, and water. So when we welcome these elements, we are made of these 5 elements ultimately. And when we allow these elements to enter our homes, that's when we live a life of health and of joy.
So from cleaning the homes, I get a lot of clients who want to clean their bodies. They want a quick fix method, what we call as a commercial detox. And people spend thousands of rupees. And sometimes when I look at these teas, I just shake my head and I'm like, no amount of a detox substance is going to like clean up the bad that you're doing in your daily diet or daily living. But I have seen that ash gourd juice has some positive benefits, and you guys recommend ash gourd juice quite a lot, and I've seen that in your videos and your workshops and in your books and everything. So what's the power of some of these juices, and is there anybody more powerful than ash gourd juice that our followers can learn about?
So ash gourd is one of the more cleansing juices. In Sanskrit, ash gourd is called Kushmand. Kushmand, which translates literally to a tiny egg of energy. Tiny egg of energy.
Wow.
So it is known that after you drink a glass of this juice or you consume this vegetable in any way, you get filled with energy. That's one thing it does. But at the same time, it is said that once this juice goes inside your body, it starts to suck in a lot of the toxic filth that lies within. And when it exits your body, it carries a lot of that toxin with itself. I think, Ryan, when we meet people in the Satvic community, we share so many practices. Not everyone's able to do everything. But this is one practice anyone we meet, anyone we run into will be like, हम आपका वो ash gourd juice तो पीते हैं. So it's something that, anyone can adopt. It's amongst all the practices, the most simple practice, where in the morning, instead of starting your day with something stimulating in nature, you start your day with a cleansing juice. And not only does it energize you, but it also cleanses your body in the morning and sets you off on the right track for the rest of the day.
Super. Another one that I do is flax seeds. There was a study done on how flax seeds increase brain-derived neurotropic factor, which basically is like a fertilizer for the brain. What's the right way in the Satvic movement and diet for flax seeds? Do you prescribe it? How to take it? What's the best way, best time?
So we don't really have a ritual around flaxseed specifically, but we believe it can be consumed like on top of your meals. What we do is we roast flax seeds and just add it on top of, even if you're having like rice and curry, we would just add roasted flax seeds on top, just sprinkle them, and it adds such a wonderful crunch to your food. You don't need no bhujia, you don't need no namkeen. Flaxseed does adds all the crispiness you need. Even on top of salads, we just put like half a cup of flax seeds, and it makes it so much more delicious. It brings in this textural contrast to your food.
But I'd be curious to know, like, what is your take on this and how do you use it?
So for me, what I feel is that it's got a coating on it, right? So when you eat the seeds, you really have to chew it in to break down the external coating so that the internal nutrition that is available will start touch your stomach acid, and then the digestibility will come in. And I don't think people have the patience to chew anymore. Like you made a valid point, you should chew your water. And I remember one ancient scripture says, drink your food.
Right.
So if you chew it long enough, you should be able to drink your food. With the same principle, nobody has patience to chew flax seeds. So then I tell people, blitz it in a coffee grinder. Second thing is, don't prepare flaxseed powder and keep it overnight, too many days in a row, because as you blitz it, there will be polyphenols, there'll be aromatic compounds inside that seed, which is almost like a spice. And the nutritional benefits get lost because it oxidizes. So the only problem with this is, one client complained to me saying that it's like an alarm clock for my neighbors, because I'm running the flaxseed grinding coffee machine, powder machine at 5 a.m. in the morning, and my neighbor sent a complaint saying, why do you run the machine so early in the morning? It's like, Fernando told me to grind fresh flaxseed powder every morning. So You win some, you lose some, but I think chewing it is a great way.
But you roast it before you
So
blitz it.
roasting is a process wherein you take out the moisture,
Hmm.
and the coating of the seed will make it slightly more brittle,
Hmm.
which means when you chew it, you won't get like a doughy break of the skin, but you get a more crunchy rupturing of the skin, and therefore it's easier. So roasting tends to take out the best when you're trying to get the nutritional.
So better to
molecules.
avoid it. Was just
No, I'm saying you should roast
Oh, you
it
should.
because a lot of times flax seeds would be stored and not fresh off the plant, and therefore because they're stored, they're exposed to moisture, they're exposed to the environment, and so the toasting or the roasting helps remove that acquired moisture basically.
Just in this, flaxseed also makes for a great egg substitute for a few of the recipes we make, and it adds that fluffiness.
That I did not know.
Worth trying, yeah.
So you just take flaxseed powder and then beat it up, and it becomes like from an omelette point of
No,
view.
no, no, not in an omelette. In a cake or something like that. In a dessert.
Okay.
Is
okay.
what egg would do to the dessert.
Yeah, yeah.
Flaxseed does that.
It holds it together.
It binds. It creates that. Yeah, it's nice.
Awesome. I wrote a book called Wheatless, and I did my genetic testing, and I realized as a Goan, I'm not supposed to eat bread, which is made from wheat, which means I had to give up my rusk, I had to give up my biscuit, I had to give up my pizza, I had to give up my burger. And lo and behold, when I did give it up, my pimples, which existed on my face till the age of 33, suddenly disappeared. Nobody told me that the wheat was a culprit. There are a lot of ancient grains that our ancestors have recommended us to eat. What is your take on some of these ancient grains?
So, like you're saying, wheat is one of those things that we're also learning about more recently. And to be quite honest, in the Satvic lifestyle, till now, we would not strongly advise against wheat, but it's a topic that we ourselves are learning about. And personally, we aren't consuming wheat as of now. So that's something, while you were talking about your book, I was thinking about it. But we do recommend consuming all forms of millets, and there are many different kinds, and one can make upma, dosa, roti, and our chefs are trying some.
Firni,
They made a dessert from
My
millets.
mouth is already watering.
So I think there's a lot available which we didn't know about. I think 5-10 years ago.
I think if I came and sat down with you for 2-3 months and we worked together with people, I love the ancient wisdom. What I would add as a small cog is that not one size fits everyone. You will get bio individuality in a person. So whilst I might say that kuttu ka atta, buckwheat flour is amazingly powerful for anti-aging, you'll find that one individual out of 200 people that might have a severe allergic reaction to some amino acid, and that's genetically handed down over generations. I think learning to eat lighter, be lighter, live lighter is a requirement for the universe, our planet. Because people ask me, what's your take on global warming? I was like, humans are causing it. It's like, yeah. How are they causing it? I said, no, hang on, rewind. If you are eating more than you require, you are panning to your animalistic brain. Man has evolved. And if you have evolved, you understand you can just eat that much lower than you need. Because I genuinely believe that the air, the water, and the spiritual realm actually give you sufficient energy,
Right.
and your food can be only 80% of your true calorie requirements. But to reach this level of nirvana, you have to become a guru.
In the Bhagavad Gita, it even mentions man who consumes more food than he produces is actually a thief. And
We're all thieves today.
we're just taking from Mother
Bhai,
Nature.
tum chor hai, bhai. Zyada kha raha hai.
But when we think about it, like you said, we don't need as much. And if we can produce some in whichever capacity way that we can offset that balance a little.
I need to ask you some quick questions before I let you go. So, first one, okay? 5 foods you should never eat.
5 foods:
You should never eat.
animal food, foods that don't come from plants, and
Second is processed food, ultra processed food.
Third is food from
Stimulants, foods
Yeah.
that numb us down, like alcohol, fast food coming from restaurants.
overcooked, overspiced, overflavored, oversalted, over
That's most of the food today.
all of those things. Yeah.
Two lifestyle changes that could help in reverse aging. You give me
The
one, you give me one.
eating an early dinner at 7 o'clock, ideally. It helps with digestion. It helps with quality of sleep. It helps with healing. It helps increase fasting hours. Supremely beneficial if you can consume your dinner at 7
The
o'clock.
second one is having a strong purpose in your life, having something till your last breath which excites you every morning.
One thing that children need to be taught in schools about food and health.
How to read ingredient labels.
Anything else they should be taught?
Yeah, I think just to know what is food and what is not. And today, all of their education is dependent on advertisements and what's on top on Swiggy and Zomato, and that's what defines their narrative of food. So the right education about what is this human body designed to eat.
What's the worst mistake people do after waking up?
They scroll on their phones. Our mind, when we wake up, is like a mattress without a cover, without a bedsheet on top. Any liquid you pour on such a mattress gets immediately absorbed. Same with our mind. Our mind is super permeable right in the morning. So if we putting world news, politics, celebrity gossip, frivolous things to our mind, it's getting deeply absorbed. So that same time, if we are able to use to give ourselves enriching books, inspiring wisdom, it completely changes our life.
One hack that you use in the Satvic movement to beat sugar cravings.
We actually indulge in sugar cravings. We just don't use the refined sugar, and we try and use dates, raisins, less processed. So we don't like to stop ourselves.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the health, all the happiness, and all the love, and probably all the funding in the world for people to come and help you out to make this a movement, to make it viral, and just keep doing what you guys are doing, because I think it's an amazing thing that you're doing for this planet.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Ryan.
much.
Just want to say we enjoyed ourselves during this conversation. For us to be able to share this knowledge freely takes for you to be completely open and to be truly be interested in the topic, and we feel we were able to fully give ourselves, and you were just such a wonderful host. You allowed us to be fully ourselves. We really deeply enjoyed, more than the knowledge, we just enjoyed ourselves.
Your curiosity, your openness, your willingness to all of those things.
Thank you so much. Please share, please like, please subscribe. You are the boss of your life.
Thank you for watching this far. It's been an amazing episode, and I'm so grateful to have you till the end. If you like this video, please share this video with your loved ones. Better still, gift me a subscribe, a like, or even a comment, and we'll come back to you.